Okay, welcome back to the Motherhood Collective Co. Today I have Jetta on. Hi, Jetta.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going really well. So Jetta, I did a Q&A on Instagram like 2 weeks ago or so, and I think one of the questions or something was about going back to work. Jesse and I can't really speak on that, but you volunteered,
Yeah.
which was so exciting to me because, again, I think this is a super important topic. And let me tell you about this conversation I just had with a friend yesterday. So she is one of my friends who doesn't work, but she has a friend who does. She works full time. And in their friend group, they had somebody kind of go off on this tangent about how moms shouldn't work and like you're not fulfilling God's purpose if you're working, and like really made their friend group feel really bad because that's an awful thing to say to somebody.
Right.
So like I'm so grateful that you came on to talk on our show, because while Jesse and I can't talk about this, we think it's intensely important. I think 100% you can work full-time, be corporate, not even like a work from home mom, and still be like mothering and nurturing and a huge influence in your children's lives. My mom worked full-time, and she set such a good example to me about how to like, you know, make your own way in the world, because she came from a very poor family and she was a total boss and set like such a great example.
Oh, I love that.
To me growing up. So I just want to say that even though Jesse and I don't work, if you're a working mom, I'm so happy Jetta's on to come talk about this, because it's a topic near and dear to my heart, because it's how I was raised with a working mom.
Yep.
And I loved my mom for it. She set an awesome example. So tell us a little bit like about your corporate story, like why this is something you're kind of like into and passionate about.
Right, totally. And I think it's going to be interesting to talk through because I was in the corporate world. Now I work for myself and work for Kroll & Co. with Kate and the team. So it is much different now, and I feel like my transition from corporate to that just really helped me see like where I went wrong with corporate and what things I could have been doing that would have helped me a bit more. So we can definitely talk through that too. And my mom stayed at home until I was 9. So I saw both. I saw like her at home with us. Literally, she would make cupcakes and we would come home from school and we would have cupcakes. And then she went back to work and got her master's. So I saw her work super hard through all of that.
I think it's so great. To see your mom like go after her dreams. So if that's you, if you're listening to this because you're a working mom and you're just like getting it, like congratulations. Your children are going to have magnificent childhoods, and I'm just so happy for you. So you had some things you wanted to talk about before we get into questions. So like some things that you thought were important to speak on. So let's get into that.
Totally. Yeah. So I think what's really interesting is how my perspective changed after having a baby. So like before I had Lily, she's 2.5 now.
Yeah, you have a Lily too.
We both have Lilies. Before I had her, I really wanted to be like at the top of the med device company I was working for. I really, I wanted to be at the top of the company. I wanted to be the one that's riding the corporate jet. Like I really wanted that life of just like being on the go and at the top and really like respected for all of that. And then like right after having her, I was like, I've changed my mind. I don't want that anymore.
That's pretty common. I think like it's a huge world shift in your own little world.
Yeah, but it was so unexpected for me. Like I really didn't think I would feel that way. I never thought that I would just want to be like maximizing my time at home and my time with her. So I think like for me, it's important for people to know that it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to change your path and your vision. And I think it's probably so common too.
No, 100%. I mean, I my mom did work growing up. We still struggled financially my entire life. Neither of my parents like graduated high school. Like I'm the only one in my family to have graduated high school. And then I went on to go to college, and then I went on to get my doctorate's degree. And it's so funny. I have this doctorate's degree. Brady and I opened a practice, and my whole passion was like adjusting babies, adjusting pregnant women. I wanted to be, my own boss and do all these things. But then I had a baby and I was just like, whoa. So I think that it's 100% like, don't feel shame either way, whether you just thought you would go the stay-at-home mom route, but now you're pivoting, or vice versa. I think no one way is the best way or the right way. It's like so individual. So individual.
Yeah. And you did go back to work for a little bit.
I did. And then COVID hit.
Yeah.
So because we brought Noah to work with us, because I couldn't imagine, Well, I had, and our listeners know, like I had really bad postpartum anxiety. I could not be separated from my son, even by a wall. Like if he was in another room, it just wasn't really healthy. Right. So he was at work with us and I would have him strapped on in a carrier to adjust. And then COVID hit and things were weird because he was like 6 months old and like he wanted to be on everybody's laps. You know, like he was like
so social.
He is my son through and through, an extrovert. And then COVID hit and I'm like, well, I just don't know if, people really want a baby crawling all over them. It was a weird time. So yeah, we pivoted and I started staying home and I'm like, okay, now this is what I want to do right now. This is what I want to do. I don't know what it looks like in 10 years, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's so true. And so I went back to work 3 months postpartum. So I had 3 months of a fully paid leave, which was wonderful.
That is nice.
And then we had planned on putting her right into daycare at 3 months, but that we found out at the same time that I was going back to work that my husband was going to be traveling for 2 months. And I was like, there's no way that I can like be home. We didn't have family living near us. And I was not about to do like 100% work and 100% of the home things.
Yeah.
So I feel like our journey is very different than a lot of people. Like I actually traveled and was living in Massachusetts with my mom for a month and then down with Andrew's parents in Atlanta for a month. So just to get some extra help. And it also let me be home with Lily while I was working, which was so nice.
Yeah, that is so nice. I think that's like kind of like the best of both worlds.
Yes.
100%.
So I'd say like breastfeeding wise, Lily never had formula, which I'm super grateful for.
Yeah.
Like we were able to make it work while I was still working full time. And since she was at home with me, I would end up feeding her like twice during my workday and then pumping once. Mm-hmm. And then she would get like 1 bottle a day, it worked so great for us. And then she went to daycare around 7 months. And that's where she did like 3 bottles a day at daycare. Yeah. But she was also, and I saw your story about Lily being obsessed with solids. Like she was very into solid food early on.
Lily is rearing and ready to go.
Yes, I love that. Yes, and my Lily was the same. She was like, give me all of the food you can give me. So that made it a lot easier for us.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You had sent me some things, like you had challenges. It wasn't like a walk in the park.
Totally.
So tell me, you sent me a list of your top challenges. Talk to me a little bit about your challenges, because I think people would love to hear about that.
Yeah, for sure. So once she was at daycare, which she was like 7 months old, dropping her off the first day was so hard.
I can imagine.
Because I was like, she's only ever been like one-on-one with adult or literally with 3 adults at a time. Like she never had to be shared. And like seeing all of the babies there, like I think they were marketed as like a 1-to-10 ratio, but really it was like 1-to-5 because they would always have a teacher's aide in there.
Yeah.
But like taking care of 5 babies, honestly, I can't imagine doing that.
I know.
I don't even know how they do it. And that was just like constantly in my head of like, she's not getting the same attention and like her needs are going to be met. Like I know they're going to be met, but it's not to the same level that it had been. Yeah. Which is just hard to see.
It is. I mean, it's unavoidable.
Yeah.
Even if you send, like, even when I drop Noah off at grandma's, I know he's not getting the same as he is with his mom. That's just, you're special.
Right. Yes.
That's why they have such a secure attachment, right?
I know. It's like we're just like bonded in a different way where we know exactly what they need. Yeah. And it's so hard when you are thinking about that for 5 different babies. So for me, that was pretty hard. Just like seeing that and just coming to terms with it.
Yeah. So was the actual drop off part, she upset when you would drop her off, or was she okay?
So yeah, one of my strategies for this personally was that my husband did all of the drop-offs.
I think that's so smart. Yeah. Like we did that because we at church with Sunday school, that's just an hour, but we still drop him off at his, when we first started, it was nursery. When they're 18 months, you start taking them into the nursery. And Brady did 100% of nursery drop-off. I feel like that's easier to say bye to dad.
Much easier.
And to say goodbye to mom.
And like he would text me after like, she did okay. She's still a little upset.
Yeah.
He's like, it's so hard to do drop-offs. And I'm like, I know. And I like truly don't know if I could do it every day.
Yeah, that would be so hard. What would you say to the moms who are doing it every day? Like, what would you tell them?
I mean, for me, like I would just think about picking them up.
Yeah.
And like she was so happy every time we picked her up. Like even still, like she's still in daycare. Like whenever we pick her up, she like is lit up and like runs over. And now she tells us about her day. And she really is. She's like, I love daycare.
That is so great.
Like, every time we pick her up, she says that on drop off. She's like, I don't want to go. I want to stay home with you, which I think is totally age appropriate. And
it
normal.
is 100%.
But she loves telling us about like the blocks and playing on the equipment at their playground. And they have karate. So
karate,
yes,
wow.
Yes, they have karate.
That's amazing.
She talks about her high block with Mr. Strong, which is so funny.
That is so funny.
So, and truly, like there's so many good things about daycare too. Like she does learn so many things that I probably wouldn't teach her because I just don't know about it.
I'm not teaching Noah karate.
No,
for sure.
she comes home singing full songs and I'm like, what song are you singing? I have no idea. So I think there's so much good to it. And I think it's just good to keep that in perspective when you're like having those hard drop-offs.
I know. And I know like the world of Instagram, I feel like as a stay-at-home mom, I feel like we've kind of been in the past attacked, right? So I think that us stay-at-home moms as a culture on Instagram are a little bit like one-minded. So I feel like that's probably like a little isolating as a working mom to get onto Instagram, because Instagram moms are kind of like the whole of Instagram, right? Besides the teenagers, it's like teenagers and Instagram moms or like entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So and most of Instagram moms I would say are like stay-at-home moms, homemaking, sourdough, like
live on a like ranch.
Yes,
have the cow to milk.
Homeschooling. And is that hard for you? Like, do you think, or maybe like, I just feel like maybe that's a little inclusive or exclusive. Like we're not really opening our minds to working moms so much as a culture on Instagram in today's motherhood community, which is not okay, I don't think.
Yeah, I've never really thought about it.
Okay, you're so sweet.
But I
though.
guess like
you're so sweet.
like I don't think like even, and I guess I'll just say like I'm pregnant now. And
congratulations.
So we're like figuring out what my maternity leave looks like. And it's different now that I work for myself because I don't get the 3 months paid.
No, you don't.
So we like my husband and I are figuring out like what we can afford and what like makes the most sense for our family.
Yeah.
And like we've never really talked about me just staying home. Like that's not really something that we have wanted. It's not something I've wanted, and
which is totally fine.
I think that probably makes it so I don't see like just the one side of Instagram.
Yeah.
And I think probably what you see on Instagram is different than me too.
Yeah, probably. I'm following all of the homesteading, homeschooling moms.
My Instagram is like what Taylor Swift Easter eggs you can find. And like
yes, Jetta's a huge Taylor Swift fan, which just makes her like instant friends with me because we both love Taylor Swift.
Like I opened Instagram this morning and it was like Karma is the Chiefs, like the guy on the Chiefs, and I was like, yes. Like so that like we probably get different content.
Right. But I would say like to the working mom who like wants to have that like nurturing vibe, and you're following those moms, those homemaking moms on Instagram, and like I just hope you know that this is not a place where you should feel shame around working. I think you should be so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. Like this is a safe place to be whatever kind of mom you want to be.
Absolutely.
What other challenges did you run into?
I think we need to touch on viruses.
And the whole trope of you're always sick. And it's like such a true thing, right?
Yes.
Because like Noah's cousin is in daycare and they're best friends. So we take him over there all the time to, his cousin's house. But then she's always sick. I'm like always so nervous.
I know. Yeah. Our first year, I don't know if it was just really bad because kids were just getting back from COVID and being like at home
immune
for so
systems
long.
were really suppressed.
Yeah. Or if it's just like your first year
in
daycare.
Yeah. You need to build that immune system.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
And I will say like year 2 and even like year 2.5, like we haven't had really anything. Good. Which I can talk about like how we kind of changed our flow for that. But yeah, it was just so tough that first year because we had like 4 or 5 stomach bugs. We had COVID the day after a stomach bug,
Oh
which
my
was like
gosh.
a special kind of virus.
Oh my gosh.
And then RSV, roseola, and then like countless
Oh
colds
my
too.
gosh.
So
That is so scary.
yeah.
So, because I feel like the most of the questions we got, I think there are a lot of pregnant moms who are wondering how they're going to handle maternity leave. Maybe this isn't even something they've thought of.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about like coping with that and like how to take off work and
Yeah, it was hard. And so like my company did not have dedicated sick time. It was just like you come to work, you get your work done. If you're sick,
we
like,
treat mothers horribly in this country. We
the
really
vibe
do.
was still like get your work done. Like it's okay
Yeah.
to miss some meetings, but like you still need to contribute
Yeah.
or like make up for it in the next couple of days. So when she was sick, I felt like I was constantly working, whether it was like helping her or like jumping from putting her down for a nap to a call to getting the rest of my work done. Like it was honestly nonstop and it was super hard. Especially
sure.
when then I would get sick.
Yeah. Yeah. No one's there to take care of you.
Yeah.
You still have to take care of
Right.
everybody else.
Yeah, and it just happened that my job was more flexible with sick time than my husband, so a lot of it did end up falling on me.
Yeah.
We did have kind of staggered work hours, and I'd say that like probably helped us the most. So I ended up working East Coast hours on Mountain Time, so it was like 6 a.m. until like 2 to 3 p.m. And then he worked mostly like 9 a.m. until I don't even know when. So like having that kind of split shift helped us out so much.
That's nice.
Because I could still get like a solid half day in without even having to like adjust anything. And then I will say like she did nap a lot when she was sick, so that helped too.
Yeah. So what, I guess, how were you said you made some shifts and stuff like when she started getting sick, like what would you say to a mom to like prep the nervous system, take care of the nervous system and try and like minimize those days that you have to take off work?
Yeah. So I mean, the biggest shift we saw was actually chiropractic care.
Yes.
Like and this was something we had done when she was a baby, but then we moved from Texas to Colorado and we didn't have all of our like normal providers set up. So we probably went like 6 months without it. And those were the 6 months that she entered daycare and then had a lot going on. So she ended up with like 2 ear infections. I was like, we are done with this. Like, I'm so over her always being sick. So we started chiropractic care and she's been sick once since.
Yeah. Let me touch on that for just a second, because I feel like if you fall into the person like that doesn't really know much about chiropractic care and you think it's for back pain, that comment makes absolutely no sense to you. So let me just tell you a little bit, like just a bird's eye view. Chiropractic actually isn't about back pain like at all. It definitely is beneficial for back pain, but chiropractic in its roots is about the nervous system. It's about making sure the brain can talk to the body, because your brain communicates with your body through nerves, and the nerves that it communicates through travel down the spinal cord and exit the spine between every vertebra. And they're going to every tissue in your body, telling your organs what to do, how to function. So if you've got a misalignment of the bones, we call it a subluxation. It puts pressure on the nerves. It literally makes it to where your brain can't talk to your body. And then you're not getting, immune reactions. You're not getting good immune function. It's not a good place to be if you're being introduced to a virus. So chiropractic care for the immune system can just make sure that the immune system's operating full force. But when you said ear infections are a different ball game, because the eustachian tube of a child, which is the tube between the inner ear and the throat, it's supposed to drain. And as you grow and you turn into an adult, there's a downward slope of the eustachian tube. So the ears are higher than the entrance into your throat. But as a child, it's very much parallel. So, and it's sitting right on top of the very first bone in your spine. And if that bone is misaligned and those tubes can't drain, you have fluid that just sits in the ear, which is just a breeding ground for bacteria, which is why chiropractic care helps with ear infections. So sorry, I just wanted to make sure that made sense to everybody.
Yeah,
so.
It's been a game changer for us. We also, I am in the holistic space and just diving deeper into herbal remedies for kids, and then same with homeopathy for kids. That really helped me to just like nip things in the bud when we got them.
Yes.
So yeah, I'd say those two things were like the biggest with us.
And I think, I think a lot of people don't really understand the harm that food can do to our bodies if we aren't treating food as like medicine, right? Like food dyes, sugar, those types of things, while are easy to feed our children because that's the food that's marketed towards our children. I think that it's not common knowledge that those things create massive inflammation in the bodies of our children. And so when a virus is introduced, not only is your child's body trying to fight the virus, it's also super inflamed from the food that they're eating, and it can't fight, it can't fight the virus as well, or bacteria, whatever it is, as well as it should. So like cutting down on food dyes, cutting down on sugars, I think is also something you could be doing to make sure you're minimizing the sick days for daycare.
Yeah, for sure.
Anything else on the virus sector?
Don't think so.
Okay, we've got, the next thing you were telling me about was not making time for yourself in your day. And before you start, I would love to say our last episode, I just recorded with Jesse's sister, and it was all about postpartum mood disorder. And we talked so hard about how like this illusion of balance in motherhood, in life in general, and how like it doesn't exist. There's no balance. And I feel like there's so much pressure to have like work-life balance and balance between like being a good friend, a good mom, a good employee. And like, you're never going to have any balance there. It's not meant to be balanced. And trying to achieve that, I think, can put you in a really bad mental state. So tell me like your experience with that and how you had to learn about balance.
Like I just wouldn't take a break for myself. Like I went from working from 6 a.m. So like when I woke up until 2 to 3 p.m. and I would sign off and then go into my car and go pick her up. Like I wouldn't even take time to just like breathe. So I think like this is one of the things where looking back on my time in the corporate world, like that is one thing that I would definitely change, is like take myself for a 10-minute walk by myself. Like not just listen to a podcast on the way to daycare and think that was my self-care for the day, which is great. Like we love podcasts.
Do that too.
But that wasn't helping like my mental state and just like feeling like I had time to myself. So
how are you somebody who loves to move your body? Is exercise?
Not really.
That's okay.
No.
And that's totally fine. I'm just thinking because like a big thing for me is making sure I can move my body. And while I stay at home with Noah and Lily, that is like, that's a lot of work. So, and I also do a lot of stuff for the office, and we have the podcast. There's a lot of editing. I do all of the editing for video. So I find myself and Brady, we are both like gym rats. We need to be in the gym and moving our bodies to be healthy, like mentally. So something we do is at the end of every night, we do like a next day strategy. So we talk about what's going on in the morning, because not only does Brady own and operate his own practice, he owns and operates a coaching business. So his free time, I put in quotation marks, is often inundated with his coaching clients and calls. So we look at the next day. I think when you have busy schedules, and I can imagine this is like tenfold with 2 working parents, it's so important to actually schedule things out. So we like live by our Google Calendar. I mean, Brady will even put like if he's planning his day and he's traveling that day, he puts drive to the airport and times it out.
Oh my gosh.
Like, we are very, and you have to be. It took us a really long time to figure out that we had to actually be intentional with our time if we wanted to fit in all the things. So I think we live by our Google Calendar. We put everything in there. If it's not in there, it's probably not going to happen. And if it's not in there and it comes up, and I didn't put something like, if I didn't put Jetta's coming over at this time to record our podcast, Brady wouldn't know, and he might have put something else there. Do you know what I mean? So then the night before, we look at our next day Google Calendar and we say, okay, we have this block of time for the gym. Sometimes it's like 2 hours where we each get like a good 40-minute workout. Sometimes it's not, and we're each getting like 20 minutes in. But like, if self-care is something that's important to you, if working out in the morning is something that's important to you, maybe it's like you just want to take a shower by yourself and you want to be able to do your face and like makeup and you want to do that without kids, I would say just like figure out how much time do you have in the morning with your husband and then divide and conquer. And I hope that your husband is receptive towards that. Like he doesn't think that it's all your responsibility to be getting the kids ready and out the door. So I hope that you can have that vulnerable conversation and say like, this is why it's important to me. If we have an hour, I need to divvy this up so that I have at least half of that time because your mental health is just as important as your husband's mental health. So make sure you're doing that. You know,
for sure. And like, not just for the moms too. Like I think dads also don't get a lot of time to themselves. Like
you got to schedule it in.
Andrew does work a long day, and when he comes home and we're like just about to sit down to dinner, like I realize he didn't get any time for himself either. So
I know. And that the other thing I think that we get caught in like as a society, because like there's so much pressure in America to be a go-getter, to go out there and do things, and we do that as a society as a whole. We're very I don't know, opportunistic country. But I think like people fall into the comparison game. Who worked the hardest? Who's the most tired? Who's the most frustrated? You know what I mean? Like I had a hard day. Oh, but this was my day. Like you're not allowed to have a hard day because I had a hard day. And I think like whenever, because I think we all kind of fall into that at some point in time when you hear someone complaining about your day and you had their day and you had a really hard day, you're like, but my day. I think you need to take a step back and like realize like it's okay. They're also allowed to vent about their day, and it doesn't mean it's a personal attack on what you did.
100%.
So I feel like a lot of married couples with young children fall into that trap, and you just kind of have to pick yourself up out of it. And there will be times when, you know, Brady will come home and he's an entrepreneur and he's taking care of 100 people in a day. And he's stressed out and he'll say something and then I'll find myself saying, oh, but you don't know what I did today. And then I have to like apologize afterwards. Like, I'm sorry, that had nothing to do with you. That was a me thing. And it's okay that you had a hard day too. You're allowed. You're allowed that.
Yeah. I think it's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so one thing my husband and I do is we split who has the mornings on the weekends, and this has been like really nice for us. So
I love that.
Like one of us, and sometimes it works out where we're both awake and we're like, we just want to have some family time, and I think that's really fun for us too. But we know that like Saturday Andrew had his day and he chose to go skiing and had a ton of fun and it filled his cup. And then today I slept in and then took a long shower and got myself ready and then came over here. So we each get like our dedicated time. And then we also get one-on-one time with our daughter, which is really fun too.
I love that. How do you make time for your marriage? I know that's like a question we get a lot. Like how, if I'm focusing on myself and my own mental health and my children, like where does the marriage piece fall into it? Which I think is a constant learning process. So how do you guys tackle that? Yeah.
And we're really bad about like going out for a date night because we don't have a babysitter.
And we're the same way. I don't like leaving my kids a lot. So like we do a lot of in-home date nights, which I think we get so much value out of. You know, if you have like a good bedtime routine, Noah's in bed by 7:30, we have plenty of time to like do something fun. And it can be just as meaningful as like getting all dressed up and going out to whatever restaurant. I don't think you have to pigeonhole yourself into like dates are only out of the home.
Right. Yeah. I think for us, like we do eat breakfast as a family and dinner as a family every single day.
Yeah.
And that makes us like, we love that. We love the conversations we have. Going on walks together is really fun. And then he gets every other Friday off. I have every Friday off. So sometimes we'll go to lunch or like go on a longer walk or do something fun that day.
I love that.
Yeah. So we do make time. It's just, it is harder.
And it's temporary. You know, when you're raising young children, it's probably not your time to be going on 3 dates a week and to be having like wild sex all the time. So that time will come again.
Yeah.
It's just maybe not right now. And that's okay. We did have a lot of questions, and you actually have this brought up, a lot of questions about pumping.
Yeah.
So that was the next thing you were going to talk about. Let me just read some of the questions so we can make sure we're like super. I just had them pulled up. I'm sorry. Give me just 1 second.
That's okay. I can touch on the pumping. So I talked a little bit about how Lily was at home with me until she was 7 months. So I only pumped about once a day then, and it was just really nice.
Yeah.
I was still making time for feeding her throughout the day. And I think that's where a lot of moms have that struggle, especially if you're working outside of the home.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was working from home, and I think it is, not to get into the comparison game, but easier.
Yeah.
Like I don't have to go on camera for a meeting. Like I can just like unmute myself, pause the pump, which is exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
And then still talk and then start the pump and go back on mute. So there's ways that do make it a little easier if you're at home.
Yeah.
But I think carving out the time is most important. So going back to what you were saying, where you scheduled out your whole day.
Yeah.
Like that's exactly what you need to do with pumping. Like you need to block that time off because it is just as important as every other meeting you have. And I think you just have to make it work.
A priority,
it's like,
yeah. Most of them were like
priority.
tips on pumping, maintaining supply.
Yeah.
And there's 3 of those. Like, how do I pump, maintain breast milk supply after going back to work? Any tips or tricks?
I think also eating enough throughout the day.
Yes, that's
so
what I was gonna
important.
Say. I feel like when you're at work, like even just me doing home stuff, like I forget to eat. I never had that problem with just one kid, but now I have 2 and I forget to eat all the time. I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm starving. I feel like I could eat a cow right now. So like people don't know like that nutrition plays such a huge factor. Hydration and nutrition. So I would say like, yes, you could have like the most fancy pump, or like the wearable pumps are super fun. Like if you're in corporate space, I think that makes it a lot easier than like what my mom had to do. But making sure like you have a lot of snacks.
Yeah, a lot of snacks, a lot of like nutrient dense foods. Like for me, like an egg salad, like I'm not a food prep person. Like I hate spending my Sunday prepping
I don't
food.
Do it either,
So we don't do that. But there are some things that are really easy. Like I would just boil a bunch of eggs and have some egg salad throughout the week. Like I would buy the pre-made chicken salad from Whole Foods and like just make a quick sandwich.
Yeah.
Like there are some good easy foods that are nutrient dense that will keep your supply up, because I think that is important. And then for me, I would just match whenever Lily was eating. So daycare was really, really good about tracking like how often she was eating and how much she was drinking. So I would know like exactly what I would need. And if there was a day where I didn't fully get there, like that happened too. And I would just pump after she would feed and go to sleep. And that would typically get me like the makeup milk from the work day. Yeah. So that helped the most. I think traveling, if you're like a working mom who does have to take business trips, I took one when Lily was 6 months old. It was a 2-day trip. My workplace paid for this company called Milk Stork. Maybe we can link it if other people want it.
Yeah, Milk Stork. I'm going to take a note of that. You've talked about
I mean, it's really expensive, but our workplace paid for it, which was so nice.
And you can like even just ask. I mean, what's the worst thing you can do is say no?
Yeah, say like, I'm still breastfeeding. Like, can you cover this?
Milk Stork.
So they will essentially send a box, like a refrigerated box.
Oh,
or like,
I see it.
Not refrigerated, but you know what I mean, an ice pack.
Yeah.
And they ship it to the hotel you're going to.
That's amazing.
And
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, you pick it up from the front desk. It has all of the baggies you need. It has like the box that you'll ship it in, and you just fill it up with all your milk, and it ships first overnight.
It says they serve 114 countries.
Yeah, it was.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. I'll link this in the show notes. I need to make a note of that. That's amazing. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. I'll say like pumping while traveling was the hardest, because you are pumping every single feeding, and it just like is a lot to wake up, have to pump, get yourself ready, pump again, go to work.
Time zone differences. Gosh. Were you using a wearable pump when you did that, or was it like a traditional pump?
So I would bring both of my pumps. I had like the Spectra, the pink one.
Yeah.
And then I had the LV pump.
Okay.
I had to pump on the airplane because I had a like 6-hour flight. So I would literally go into the bathroom, put the pump in, put a scarf over myself so I wouldn't look as ridiculous with like the
huge boobs,
the Iron Man lights coming out of my shirt.
I love it.
So, and then I would go back into the bathroom, like try to be as sanitary as possible, dumping the milk into the baggie. And I would ask the flight attendants for ice for my cooler, and they were always so incredibly kind about it.
Anywhere you find females, I feel like you're going to have support for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Totally.
I didn't even, Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm still writing this down.
Yeah,
I need
so-
to read this. Milk Stork.
Yeah, those are probably my top tips for traveling and breastfeeding.
And airports have to let you through with milk, like through
Yeah,
security.
honestly, that was pretty hard.
Was
So,
it?
Yeah.
Okay, because I just hear like they're required to allow breast milk through. So what was that process like?
Yeah, so they wouldn't allow ice through for me, and I think this is different for every airport and every person
Oh,
you get. Like, they're
annoying.
not like consistent about it.
Annoying.
And I pulled up their rules and showed them, and they still were like, no, you can't travel with this. So I always felt better about shipping my milk and
Yeah.
not worrying about it versus like trying to bring it through security.
Yeah.
And that was just easier for me.
That was easier for you, but you do have rights. So like,
Yeah.
I think that's great. Look it up.
Yeah.
They're supposed to let you
They're
through with
supposed
breast
to.
milk. Breast milk is supposed to be something that they can't tell you
Yes.
can't bring. So
Yes.
hopefully you don't have,
Totally.
you don't have issues.
Yeah, and I would always look up before I got to the airport, like where are the pumping stations? Because there are different, like some have the Mamaroo like
Yeah.
stalls
Yeah.
that are like outside of the normal structure of the building, and some airports have like a dedicated nursing room where you like just call when you get there and they unlock the door for you.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's nice. So I want to touch back on, I want to give our listeners a few like really solid things they can be eating throughout the day.
yeah.
So you said egg salad, chicken salad. What are some other like super nutrient dense foods that maybe they don't have a refrigerator and they just need to keep some food in their drawer?
Yeah. My go-tos, especially while breastfeeding, the Paleo Valley meat sticks.
Yes.
I'm obsessed with. They are so expensive.
They are. Chomps makes them. You can get Chomps brand. They're grass-fed beef sticks at like Trader Joe's, Target. It's like $1. If you buy them at Trader Joe's, it's $1.99 a stick. That's what we get.
Okay.
They're not as expensive.
I'll
Just so you
look into
know,
it.
they're great. I love them.
we put it on the Amazon subscribe and
Yeah.
we don't look at it.
We don't look at it. It's just an expensive thing.
Yes.
So meat sticks, I think, yes.
Yeah.
Great. What else?
Meat sticks, something like a Lybarger, like find
Yeah.
which bar you like, because I'm like super particular about the bars, but Lybarger I really liked. The Scout Organics bars are really good. Just get the variety pack and like pick a flavor that really you enjoy.
Yeah.
Trying to think of what other snacks. For me, like an apple and peanut butter or almond butter, like just
Yeah.
cutting an apple real quick and then having those slices
Yeah.
is
It's
really
so
nice.
important to make sure you're including like good fats when you're breastfeeding. I think like we get in this trope of like, I gotta bounce back. I gotta not eat. Like
Yeah.
fat is bad. Fat is not bad. You have to have fat to
Yeah.
breastfeed your children. Milk is fat.
It is.
And then I think hydration is something we overlook a lot.
Totally.
Adding like drinking water is great, but like you need minerals.
Yes.
So like adding a pinch of
salt.
we use Redmond salt. It's like
Yep.
from Utah salt flats. It's very mineral heavy, or like Element.
Yep.
Like you can buy little electrolyte packs like that, mineral packs. It's like Sprouts, Whole Foods.
Totally.
Order them online.
Yeah.
I think coconut water is a great option if you like it.
So
I
great.
hate coconut water.
I like it, and I like it so much more when I'm pregnant or breastfeeding.
Do you?
Yes.
Oh, I can't handle the taste of it. But making sure you're drinking a lot throughout the
Yes.
day and eating, I think, is like the biggest tip on maintaining your supply. And I love that tip about making sure you're pumping while they're eating.
Yeah.
So like have that conversation with whoever's watching your child. Like I need to know, because maybe they're having a family member watch them and they don't have that information. Like I need to know what time she's eating and how much she's eating. I think that's so great.
Yeah. Your maternity leave, you're going to be missing the office politics and the office vibe for a couple of months, and like reorienting yourself back into that. I think you need to allow yourself a couple of months to like rebalance and like re-engage with everyone, because you miss a lot of what happens. You miss like org structure changes, overall like company changes, like if you like launch some new products and like have different things going on, if you have some suppliers, if you're working in the manufacturing space that like have a couple quality issues, like you need to learn what happened while you were gone.
That's so interesting. I would have never thought of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm so glad you're here.
It's definitely interesting. Like for me, I booked one-on-ones with every single person I engaged with over like a month to 6 weeks, honestly. Like I spaced them out because I didn't want to do it all at once, but I still wanted to catch up with everybody just to see like what was going on, what did I miss, like what things are they seeing as important, because I think overall strategy and priorities change for a company too, and it's good to know like what the priorities are, because I don't think it's important to work on the nice to haves. Like you need to work on the need to haves and what people are seeing as important.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think give yourself grace, because you're not going to be the same human being you were before. And like also the brain fog that comes postpartum is so hard. So I'm sure just like entering back into that world and like trying to keep up with office politics and the social structure at work, and now I need to pump, and I'm also like breaking down because like I'm so emotional. Like that has to be so hard.
Right. Like Lily slept great her first 3 months, which is when I was on maternity leave.
Yes, I feel like that's, and then they hit 4 months.
Yep, she had 4 months.
And it all goes to crap. Every baby. It's okay.
Yes. So she was waking up like 2 to 3 times a night, and you still have to work the next day.
Yeah. Oh, we had a question. So while we're on it, we had a question, and it was, how do you, let me read it exactly. Splitting up nighttime baby duties with your husband while you're both working. And then also there's a question, being a good employee while you're sleep deprived. So let's tackle those two.
Okay. So like I said earlier, my husband was traveling from basically months 4 to 6.
Gosh.
Which is when
like
she
the hardest
was
months of
struggling to
infancy.
sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did all of the nights by myself. She still slept right next to me and like the pack and play next to me. And I would feed her while like half sleeping and then put her back down. She was never the type who was like, it's playtime, I'm ready to play overnight. So like I don't know what that's like. I'm sure that's incredibly hard to be able to like have to engage with your baby overnight. Like I really just fed her and put her back down, and we both went back to sleep. So if she ever was like fussy, say she woke up at like 5 a.m. and she was like, I could go back to sleep, but I could also stay awake right now.
This is fun.
That is when I would go get my husband and be like, okay, your turn. She's not hungry anymore.
Yes.
But I did do all of the feedings. We weren't really in a situation where we could split that.
Yeah. So Brady and I, because I worked full time from the time Noah was 4 weeks old until he was 6 months. Brady and I worked together, and I had a lot of flexibility in my job. Like I said, I had my son there, and I could breastfeed him whenever I wanted. But we did still, and Noah, if you've heard me talk about our experience with him, I fought co-sleeping, because co-sleeping is my jam. It's how I feel rested in motherhood. It might not be that way for everybody, but for me it is. And I didn't know that. So Noah was a baby who was very attached to his mom, as he should be. And he wanted to be around me all night. So once he hit 4 months, he was up every 45 minutes. He would sleep a 45-minute window, because that's the sleep cycle, right? Babies at 4 months, they progress into the next neurological development milestone, and that is they get sleep cycles. They stay asleep. They have one long 45-minute sleep cycle. And even us as adults, we come out of it. But we have learned, we're developed enough to be able to link those cycles together. Babies are not. So Noah would wake up 45 minutes, realize that he was not by me, and he would lose his mind. So it was very hard. Brady and I would take turns. And if Brady couldn't console him because he wanted to fall asleep drinking milk, he wanted to be breastfed to sleep, we would try a bottle. He never really liked a bottle. So it kind of turned into, I needed mental support. I was also struggling super hard with postpartum depression. So I would wake up and Brady would wake up with me. And that's just what we were both tired. So he would wake up with me and say, like, can I get you a drink? Can I get you a snack? Can I like get you a cover or a blanket?
That's
and then
really sweet.
It is. And he would do that. And then he would go back to sleep. And then, there was a lot of times, like if I felt like, okay, I'm okay, I can do this, I'm going to take him, I'm going to let Brady sleep, he would do the same thing. Like if he woke up first and Noah was crying and I was kind of still asleep, he would just grab him and take him out of the room and see if he could get him down to sleep. I think like you need to have an honest conversation with your husband to say like, hey, we are both tired. We are both working hard. we are both parents and we need to be equally pulling our weight here because I'm struggling. And I don't think there's ever going to be like an even. One of you is always going to be sacrificing a little bit more than the other at nighttime. And I think that's totally healthy and totally normal. Just don't be the one that's constantly sacrificing, and don't let your husband be the one that's constantly sacrificing. Like if he was up with the baby most of the night last night, maybe you're taking a turn a little bit more tonight. But I will also say that doesn't last forever.
Yes. I was just going to say, like, have perspective with it. Like,
it's so hard to have perspective as a first time mom.
Oh man.
You don't have it. So you just think, this is my life now.
Right.
This is how I'm going to feel forever. This is awful. But 4 to 6 months is so hard with sleep. You'll get out of it. But for these next few months, if you're there in the trenches, like, try to make sure each one of you is pulling your weight, and like have open conversations, and let your spouse know how you're doing, and let them tell you how they're doing. Pick up the weight where it needs to be picked up.
Right.
Yes. What was the other question? There was another one. How to function at work while you're sleep deprived. Being a good employee while sleep deprived.
Yeah. I would say, like, this is where you should have a conversation with your manager. Like, what are the priorities that I need to get done?
Yeah.
And get those done. And then any of the nice to haves, like, don't worry about it. Like, you're gonna go home every day with a to-do list, no matter how much you get done. And as long as you're getting those, like, important priorities done, I think that's good.
Yes.
And I think it's great, and that's enough.
Yes.
And you don't need to get everything you would have used to get done when you were not a mom.
Yeah,
because you're not.
You're not the same person you were before you had children. Don't ever hold yourself to the expectations or to the standards you held for yourself before becoming a parent.
Yeah.
Because now you have different priorities.
Right.
Some of the same priorities, but you also have these added priorities around your child. And I think it's important to not put so much pressure on yourself to be who you were beforehand, because you're not her.
Yeah.
And thank God you're not her, because now you have a family.
Yeah,
I
will say I was like way more efficient at getting things done as a new mom. Like, I was able to get way more done in less time. And I think that just comes with it. Like, I don't really know how to put
Moms
that into
multitask.
words.
Yes. Yeah. I think And also I think it goes back to what we were saying before, like perspective. It's not going to last forever. Sleep is going to come back. It's not your time for sleep right now. Drink some coffee if you need it. It won't get you. Yeah. It's okay to have some coffee while you're breastfeeding. Yes. Like, it really is. But just have the perspective of rest will come back, and be patient with yourself, I would say, for sure.
Yeah, totally.
Patience and grace.
And like,
hopefully your employee is doing that. Your employer is doing that too.
Right. Yeah. I'll say, like, I think it's so much easier said than done to be like, just get your priorities done, and like the rest will follow. Like, I think I did really struggle with not working to the same level that I did before motherhood.
And but that is also, like we said, like, we live in a country where work is valued. Motherhood isn't really valued in our country as a whole. So I don't think we grow up and we're inundated with these messages like, you need to work like a man, you need to eat like a man, you need to work out like a man, you need to basically be a man. But then also when children come, you need to be cooking meals and cleaning your house, and, you know, make sure you're still skinny, and just host parties. And it's not a fair way. It's not fair on women. It really isn't.
No.
So I do think you need to lower your expectations. And as an employer, Brady and I employ 4 or 5 people. If one of them was coming back from maternity leave, which we haven't entered into that situation yet. But I would say, as an employer, it would be appreciated to just have the employee come to me and say, like, hey, this is how I'm feeling right now. What can I do to maximize my time for you, while also you understand that I'm not going to be what I was 6 months ago? And then I think that would be like, one, that's showing that you understand the situation, and 2, it's showing like you stepping up as an employee and saying, like, hey, I actually do want to get work done. And that also, like, sets some realistic expectations for me.
Totally.
So I think hopefully you have an employer that you can have an honest conversation with, and hopefully that employer understands parenthood.
I know.
I'm so sorry if they don't, though.
Yeah.
That would be so hard. I don't know if I have advice for that.
No, I don't know. You can't, like, I feel like there's so much of parenting you don't know until you are a parent.
Yeah. No, I know. It's hard to prepare. It's hard to prepare. Oh, here's a question we can ask before we move on to the next thing on your list there is like, did you want to go fully back to work? Like how, after you had your baby, we talked a little bit about how like your wants changed, but like, how was that mentally for you going back to work after?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of emotions. Like one, I was a little excited to get some time to myself, which I feel like is
valid.
Totally valid.
Totally valid.
And like after the weekend, if we had like a really tough weekend of like some tantrums or some crankiness or fussiness, which is totally normal and developmentally okay, like I would be like, I'm kind of excited to have an hour to myself.
Yes.
Where I don't have meetings and I can just catch up on some mindless emails and do that.
That would be so nice. I don't have that.
No.
Like stay-at-home moms don't have that. It's so hard. There's a mental load of being a stay-at-home mom that is like, it's hard to constantly be needed and touched and yelled at and screamed at by your children. Right. 24/7.
Yes. No, you really do have a 24/7 job.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. So I think like that was one feeling. Like the other of just like not being with her as much. It was like just hard, like knowing that somebody else would have to figure out her needs like we talked about, and like just having to trust in that and know that she was going to be okay, because she is okay, and she's maybe like stronger and more resilient with it.
I was gonna say, does it get better over time? I'm sure it does.
Yeah, it does.
How much time did it take for you to like get back into the workspace and taking your child to daycare and like to where you felt like this is our routine now and I love it?
I'm not sure about that.
Oh, that's okay. You don't have to be sure about it.
I think her being able to communicate now of like
that helps so much.
So-and-so hit me today.
Yes.
And I'm like, well, what do you do when somebody hits you? And we like talk about different strategies. Like her just being able to communicate what happens for good or for not as good.
Yeah.
Just helps me to know that like she can handle whatever's coming her way.
And it just like brings you peace, because if something was really amiss, like 100%. She can tell you.
Yeah, she would.
Yeah. She has the voice.
Yes.
Yes. Let's see. What do you want to talk about something else on your list before moving to another question?
Oh no, we can do another question.
Oh, here's this. We're not going to go into depth with this, but how do you balance everything? You don't.
You do not.
I talked about this in my last episode. You can either be, there's like this trend on Instagram right now, in my Instagram feed. It's like, you can either be present, you can be adventurous and fun, or you can be productive. Like you're not going to be all three. So pick one for the day. And that's for like, that was a mom who works at home. But I think it goes for every aspect in life. Like you're a friend, you're a wife, you're a daughter, you're a mother, you're fill in the blank, an employee. You're not going to be all five of those things, like doing a great job at all five of them at once. And that's okay. You do not have to be a good mom and a good employee at the same time. While you're at work, it's totally okay to be the good employee. And while you're at home, it's totally okay to not be a good employee, but to be a good mom. And I think you have to let go of the illusion of balance. It's something that we need to stop saying, because there is no balance.
No, there's not. But I do think like you can set like your non-negotiables. Like for my family, like the sink needs to be cleaned before we go to bed. Like we do not function well if we're like waking up to dishes.
Figure out what boundaries you have to set within your marriage, within your friendships, within your job, within your parenthood. Like figure out the boundaries you have to set and stick to them. I think that's super smart. Yeah. And for like us, Brady, his entire world is entrepreneurship and patient care, patient management. Like, so he comes home and that's what he wants to talk about. And sometimes that's great. Sometimes it stresses me out, because my world is keeping these tiny children alive. And if we're talking about problems in the business, like it scares me. So like, that's a boundary we set. Like we get 20 minutes of like, you can chat about work, and that's a season. Now I don't really have that boundary, because he knows like, don't be coming home with like doom and gloom to Amanda, because she'll cry. And she won't sleep. So there's like, I guess like if you're talking about balance, like there is some balance that comes in, like you can set it for sure in different seasons parts of your
Yes.
life.
Yes.
But yeah, you're not going to balance everything. Just let go of that.
No.
Someone asks, what helps you have the energy to give to your kids when they get home after you've worked all day?
Yeah, this is something I've really had to manage because I was finding like I was giving 100% of what I had to work, and then I would have 0% left over.
Yeah.
And like, that's not okay.
No.
So, yeah, this was just really hard in the corporate world. Like, I think working for myself now, I can see like where I would have made improvements, and it would have been like shortening my to-do list to those priorities. It would have been not like responding to emails after work, or like sometimes I would log in at 9 p.m. and get through my emails so I wouldn't have to do it in the morning. And like that took away from my overall rest time. And I think now that I do work for myself and work less hours, like I'm able to see where I can just give back to myself and my family a whole lot more.
Yeah.
But it's so hard.
Yeah. I think, and I don't have to do this, so, take what I say with a grain of salt, but I also think like filling up your cup with the things that you need, whether it's, every night, my thing is, I'm about to spend 30 minutes on my face. Like, I don't need 30 minutes for my face routine, but I'm going to pop in my AirPod. I'm going to listen to my audiobook, my fiction audiobook that is not like self-improvement. It's like literal just like a pleasure, right? To listen to whatever fiction book I'm listening to. And I'm going to spend 30 minutes in the bathroom and everybody's going to leave me alone. You know what I mean? Like that fills my cup every single night. And I look forward to that time. Yeah. I might pluck out every eyebrow in my head to fill the time, but that's going to happen. That fills my cup. Like working out in the morning, making sure Brady and I, I'm making sure we respect each other's priorities. Brady, who is also a parent, who also works all day and then comes home and divides responsibilities with me. He also needs to fill his cup. So making sure that he gets to like golf on the weekend at some point in time, or making sure he gets to the gym in the morning, making sure that, we each have those moments where we can really refuel. Because, I know they say like, oh, you can't pour from an empty cup. Yes, you can. As a parent, you're constantly pouring from an empty cup. But like try to fill it sometimes. Yeah. I think.
Yeah, and you'll just be happier.
You will.
Like pouring from an empty cup, I was never a happy person.
No. And I also think too, social media can be a great tool and a lot of fun. It can also be a monster. I know a lot of women struggle with this. I used to struggle with it. And so I'm not going to say I don't ever, but like scrolling, I was talking to a friend a couple of weeks ago and she was saying, I feel like when I have a moment to myself, I want to open my phone and scroll. But then when I'm done scrolling, or if I get interrupted scrolling, like if I'm just looking on Instagram, I feel like I can't cope with my real life. And that was like such a real thing that she said. She's like, I feel like I can't handle my kids. Like she's overstimulated a lot. And I think like the general understanding of the way social media affects our brain is not there. And the way that you're lighting up dopamine receptors every single time you open your phone, and it's an actual addiction. And then when you are not able to feed that addiction because you have to be at work, you have to be with your kids, like it can make you angry. It can legit make you angry and not be able to cope with your life as well. So I think not only filling your cup, but like setting hard boundaries with stuff that doesn't add value to your life. Is social media actually adding value to your life? I don't know. I don't think so.
Probably
I think
not.
It's like fun, like you can see you can catch up on other people's lives, or like see what people are buying on Amazon, whatever. But like
the Taylor Swift gossip
yes,
for me.
Yes, exactly. It can be fun, but like keep it as like a thing that is just a little bit of fun, because when we're on our phones constantly, the way that's affecting your mind. And my rule of thumb is I don't let my kids see me on my phone. So unless I'm like taking a picture, that's basically Noah thinks that's what a phone is. It's a camera. So he's always, if he picks up my phone, he instantly opens my camera because I'm constantly taking pictures of them. But outside of me like taking pictures and videos of my kids, which is why you see me post things like on my stories all the time, because I just am recording, I don't let them see me on it. It's on the kitchen counter, which is hard.
So hard.
Because like there's times where I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm overstimulated. I'd like to just lock myself in a room with my phone and just turn off my brain. But it does make living actual life a lot harder.
Totally.
So,
when I post something, or I like post a question box where I'm like, I want some information from like everybody I'm friends with.
Yes.
I'm like, I want to check it so badly. And I don't think that feeling would go away. Like,
no. It's
So,
hard.
yeah.
And that is something you do have to find a balance. I say that in quotations. You have to find a balance with, because yes, I think it can make you a more not happy human being.
Yeah.
Let's see. How to make the most of your time that you get with your baby. So this is kind of
Yeah,
like
similar.
Yeah, but like how, like when you log off of work for the day and now it's time to be mom Jetta and not work Jetta, like how are you making the most of your time there?
I mean, I think we talked about filling like our cups, our husband's cups. I think we have to fill our kids' cups too.
Yes, you
Like
do.
her cup gets filled by going on a walk, going to the playground, like going to Target to get a new outfit. Like she loves so many different things. Or like sometimes I'll ask her like, what do you want to do? She'll be like, oh, I want to play with my mini magnets.
Okay,
we'll get it out and we'll play with it. So I think giving them some like control over what they do, and then also like planning some things fun for them is so important. And it's going to fill your cup when you see them having fun. And if you like getting outside, like just go on a walk with them and take them to the playground. And I think it helps so much to be able to do things with your kids, not just like, and we do sit in front of the TV and watch the TV.
So
but
that's fine. That's fine.
but like also do fun things out of the house too.
Yeah. And know your kids' love language. I feel like that's so powerful because like, and this goes with any relationship in your life, but with your children have a love language. Noah, he actually has two. He has gifts and he has words of affirmation.
Aww.
So like he is not so concerned about spending time. He's very big into independent play. Like he's constantly just off doing things. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, where's my kid? And I might go figure out what he's doing. He's in the basement playing with his trucks or he's outside playing with the dog. So he doesn't need a lot of one-on-one time, which, you know, that's okay for him. But what he wants to do is he wants to go to Target and he wants to get a toy, like a little cheap toy. He wants me to, like, if I'm out, I bring him something back to let him know I was thinking of him. But I'm constantly throughout the day filling his cup with my words.
Yeah.
Like, you know, he did something cool. Like, you must be so proud of yourself, or I love you, or you're so special to me. I love having this time with you. And he will go to bed. Even if I felt like I was a terrible mom that day, like he had a great day because I said the things that he wanted to hear, that he needed to hear. That's how I fill up his cup, is with my words and with my money.
What are the other love languages? I always forget.
Oh, yeah. So you have words of affirmation, quality time, physical touch, gifts. Am I missing one? Words of affirmation. No, I think that's it. Words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, physical touch. There could be another one, but I think that's it.
Yeah.
And I feel like in infancy, physical touch is big. And for a lot of kids, I was a physical touch kid. I wanted to be on my mom like a leech all day long. So like the way my cup was filled as a child was my mom. She struggled with depression really, really bad. Still does. So she was in her room a lot. And I would just go lay on her, like literally up until I was like 16 years old. She would be watching Lifetime movies in her bed and I would just go lay my whole body on top of her body with my head against her chest. And we would just watch TV together. So I think like making the most of time with your children, you just have to figure out what makes your kid tick. It's going to look different than what makes my kid tick.
Yeah.
And like put all of your energy into that.
Totally. Yeah, Lily's is definitely quality time. Like she's always like, come play with me.
Yeah.
And we'll go play with her dolls and do some pretend play or go to the playground. And she loves the playground.
Yeah. I love that. And each of one of your kids is going to be different.
Yeah.
Seriously. And you'll realize it so fast. Lily is already so different than Noah. It's insane. We have another one. How do you overcome the extreme mom guilt of leaving your babies to go to work? Do you have extreme mom guilt to go to work? I'm not a huge mom guilt person, or at least I wasn't before I had Lily.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like extreme, but I definitely like felt like sad to drop her off and like, should she be home with me? I think we all question like what we're doing just to kind of figure out what's right for us.
Yeah.
Like we definitely did that. And that's why we made some strategic decisions to change like where I worked and how I worked. But I think like going back to just keeping into perspective, like all the good that can come from dropping them off. Like for us, we have seen like leaps and bounds in her, like vocabulary and compassion for other kids, like the way that she can, like she's very empathetic and can notice like when somebody's upset and will bring them something that makes them happy. And like, I think there's just so much growth that can happen in a daycare setting.
Yeah.
And even if it's not like your ideal, but it's like what you're working with, like, I think just notice the good with it.
And I think if you have people in your life telling you that other people shouldn't be raising your kids, or you're seeing that on Instagram, because I see a lot of that on Instagram, unfollow. Don't talk. I was a latchkey kid. Like both of my parents worked full time. My mom, went to work when I was an infant and always worked. I never had any hard feelings against that whatsoever. No. Did I cry when she dropped me off at daycare? Yeah, I loved my mom.
Yeah.
I loved her. Like
normal response.
Yeah, just wanted to be with her. Like, but then when she was gone, I was fine and I had a lot of fun. And I am a person who has like very clear memories of infancy, of like 1 year old. I can tell you like what I was wearing when this day happened, like very bizarre, not a normal memory. But I'm like, I never have any, like, I don't know. I just think that maybe you're thinking too much about it. It's hard to leave your babies, but also like if you are convicted that this is what's right for your family, whether it's out of necessity because you need 2 incomes, that's a great thing for your family, or it's out of like your own conviction that you want to work, like stick to the conviction, stick to the necessity, stick to the conviction. Your baby's going to be fine. If you've got great people taking care of them, it's going to be okay. I think don't let people make you feel like you have to feel guilty, because you don't have to feel guilty.
Yeah, I know.
You don't.
No.
Okay. Anything else?
Let's see.
Because I've got to go
if we missed
in
anything.
about 15 minutes.
Okay. I think we've hit on a lot of this. I think like building your community is so important.
Oh my gosh, yes. And you have to
Which
actually
is like why I'm here.
build it. Yes. You have to build it yourself.
Yes.
Everyone's like, oh, it takes a village. And then after you have your first kid, you're like, is the village? Because you haven't built your village. I don't think people say, yes, it takes a village, but like, where is your village? Who's your village? Find your village. And you have to invest in friendships as a mom. I feel like when you're a kid, or like in the workplace, like before you have children, it's like so easy to make friends because you're in like this setting. But when you're a mom, it's so hard, and you have so much going on now. Right. You have to like go out of your way to maintain friendships.
It's so true.
It is very true.
And I think that like every village is a different size, looks a little different. So like find what works best for you, whether it's like family, friends, community members, like whatever works best for you. Our neighborhood too. We like love seeing our neighbors.
I know. We're the same. We have such a great subdivision here. Yeah. I think also at the last event Jesse and I had, we were talking about building a village. There are parts of your village that you can pay for. Like one of my favorite village members is my house cleaner. She doesn't come every week. I wish she would, but she comes every other week. And like that just takes 2 hours of my time that I just get to give.
Probably more.
Probably. Yeah. Let's be honest. Probably more, because what takes her 2 hours would probably take me like 5.
Yes.
But like, seriously, it gives me back so much time. So maybe it's like you're hiring out your house cleaning, you're hiring out your laundry, you're hiring out some meals, you're hiring out washing your dog. Like find something in your budget that you can hand off. Or like, even if it's not paid, like you're just asking your mother-in-law, like, can you come help me this weekend? I would really appreciate it. I think that's really important.
Totally. Yeah. I think like we also invested in housekeepers.
It's an investment.
We never did it before. I think we started when we moved here. So Lily was like 8 months old. We had never done it before. And it was the biggest game changer for even my husband and I's weekends, because we used to write up all of the cleaning tasks and do like a football draft of like who got what. And now we don't even have to think about it.
And you do not have to be wealthy to have someone come clean your house. No. That was actually my job all through college. My aunt,
really?
Yes, she owns, and it's just her. So I say she runs and she owns, but she's a very successful at this, at cleaning homes, and she's got a huge list of clients, and she lives very comfortably off of cleaning houses. So every summer, that's what I did, as I would help her clean houses through the day. So like, I feel like there's this weird thing with like hiring a house cleaner. Like, ooh, that makes me, I don't know. Yeah. Like I should be doing this because I'm a woman, I stay at home, or I should be doing this because it's my house. But no, like I cleaned other people's houses for a living, and we cleaned people's houses that were like huge mansions down to 2-bedroom apartments. Like anybody can do it. It does not have to be super expensive. It can be as expensive as you want it. But you can totally do it.
Yes. Yes. And like some people like can buy like a meal service, and I think that's great. But if you can't afford that, like just set something up with 3 friends where you all cook like a massive meal and then portion it off for each other.
I
So then
think
you're
that's
still
so
getting
great.
like 3 meals, but you only cook 1. So there's ways you can be creative with your village and like outsource work at the same time.
I love that. That would help a ton.
Yeah. Right. Even with getting like a variety of meals, we're like so over currently our same rotation.
I know. I'm so bad about that. I grew up with like my dad was the one that cooked. So we had like 6 meals that we always ate. And that's how I grew up. And Brady's like, why are we having chili again? I'm like, I don't know. I like it.
It's Monday.
Come on.
It's so funny.
All right. Anything else?
Yes. So, and we touched on this a little bit, but like have something for yourself, like even if it's like a personal goal or just like something you really enjoy. For me, I started the integrative health practitioner program, the IHP. I bought it the weekend I went back to work, which sounds like the worst timing ever, but it was actually the best because I was able to do something just for me. I was able to carve out time that like was for my own growth and something I kind of envisioned being like my next career step as well. So I think having something for you just makes you overall so much happier.
Yeah. Fills your cup.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I love it.
And then I was asking my husband like what his tips would be, and he said, "Bury him. See it as an adventure, and like use your new lens because you get a new lens as a parent to create your new vision."
I love that.
Look, very nice.
That's like very. I don't know. That's like poetic.
Yeah, I like had to. I had to write it word for word. I had to write it. Nice.
Yeah, that's very poetic. I love that so much.
Yeah, but I think we do get a new lens, and like we said earlier, like not being afraid to change.
Yeah.
Like what your next few months or years look like is totally fine.
And also having perspective of like everything's temporary, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
All of it, which is like hopeful and sad at the same time. And I think that's okay. Parenthood is beautiful, and you don't have to stop like your career achievements because you become a mom, if that's something on your heart. Like, I'm so glad that you're doing that. And I don't know. I'm just proud of everybody that does that. It's not an easy thing, but it's a worthwhile thing.
For sure.
All right, you guys. Thank you so much for coming on, Jetta. It's so nice to have a human being to talk to.
I totally get it.
The first couple of Q&As, I was just by myself. I'm like looking at the camera. I'm like, okay, this is awkward.
There's no way I could do that.
I know. I just talked to Jessie last night though, and she was like, so when can I come back? I'm like, oh, right now? You can come back whenever you want. Yes. She's like, I thought I would want more time, but I think I'm okay. I'm like, great. Thanks for sticking with us, ladies, and I will see you next week. Yeah.